All around Tyria, we can find a variety of camps. Some are set up by hunters or travelers to protect themselves against the weather. Some are set up to help house refugees. Some are set up in times of war. Some are set up for people to party at. And there are a wide variety of other purposes for camps in any fantasy world. And today, I want to go across Guild Wars 2 and go over my top 10 favorite camps in the game. So let's get started. In the number 10 spot is the Ogre Camp. This is nowadays a pretty classic area from the Heart of Thorns expansion. This is one of the largest areas in Tangled Depths and is directly connected to the Ogre Lane, which is one of the 4 lanes during the Chak Garand meta event, where the Ogre Camp itself has a large event chain that goes through it, as it is one of the outposts, basically an area with a big event chain in this map. Where anyone who has spent a lot of time in Tangled Depths has probably spent a decent amount of time at this camp for the events, to waypoint to this area of the map, or even to chat with the faction provisioner. When it comes to the camp itself, I think it is really cool. Ogre crawls can often be described as camps, and this one is similar in style with others, which makes sense since they are ogres. But the buildings feel a lot more scrappy as the ogres are using the resources around them in order to build the structures, which again makes a lot of sense since these ogres are the ogres that are a part of the Pact, and you can even see Lagula hanging out here, where the Pact fleet was destroyed with the start of the Heart of Thorns expansion, and they hastily threw together this camp, and honestly they picked a fantastic area to do so. The great tree overlooking this area is beautiful. I love all the bamboo and other foliage around here, and this river with the bridge the ogres built over is just incredible. In the number 9 spot is Roy's Refuge. I thought I'd throw a Road vs. World supply camp on this list because I'm sure these types of camps are what most people think of when you think of camps in Guild Wars 2. But across the Eternal Battlegrounds and the various borderlands, most of these camps are specifically resource camps, and not camps in the traditional sense of like tents and campfires and stuff. But you can expect them in a variety of future top 10 videos, like a future top 10 lumber mills. But this camp is one of the few, if not the only example of a more classic type of camp in World vs. World. You can find this in the northeastern area of the Red Desert Borderlands, and you used to be able to find camps just like this one in the other Blue and Green Desert Borderlands before they were switched back to the Alpine Borderlands. And honestly, this camp is just pretty basic and cool. I love how it's set into this canyon area which serves as a natural defense, and it's kind of hidden away from the rest of the map. Also, I don't think this is confirmed anywhere, but there are multiple Roys who have worked at ArenaNet and have been in the Guild Wars 2 community, so this location may be named after one of them. In the number 8 spot is the Astral Ward Camp. This is the main outpost for the Astral Ward in the Enranios map, where I highlighted this spot and a couple of other areas on this list in my top 10 tents video, where there are just a lot of really cool tents all around here, like this big Astral Ward tent and these smaller tents with a ton of troops. Where this area is pretty important since it is the staging ground for the Astral Ward for their excursions deeper into Enranios. But I just love all the different decorations around this entire area. This camp is decorated very well, and it feels super immersive to be in this camp and around the Astral Ward. You got these canoes, these bunk beds, this mysterious tank of something, a bunch of weapons and armor, a bunch of sacks and crates, this cool wagon, some beautiful fires, and just so many other fun decorations all around here. In the number 7 spot is Camp Resolve. This may be one of the first camps in the open world that people think of when they think of camps, and a large part of that is probably because this is the most used camp in the game, as it is the Pact's primary base camp in the Silver Wastes, which, ever since this map released, the Silver Wastes has been a massive area for players who are interested in making gold. Plus, there are a bunch of fun things in this map, and you often start out at Camp Resolve, and anyone who is boosting a character to level 80 also comes here. But it is indeed a massive Pact base camp with a ton of stuff going on. You got a ton of airships around here, including the Glory of Tyria, which is the Pact's flagship. You got a lot of different engineering projects going on, a ton of tents housing the troops, a ton of tables for said troops to eat at, a bunch of troops from all the different nations and orders walking around here and doing various things, and just so many other fun details spread throughout the camp. In the number 6 spot is Bogside Camp. This is a smaller camp from Vanilla Guild Wars 2 that can be found in Sparkfly Fen, where when I think of traditional campsites in the world, this camp fits that vibe perfectly. In the center you have a nice fire pit as well as a picnic table. You then got one large tent and one smaller tent right next to each other, and then you have other things like this crate and the Savari mortar turret. It's just a very idealistic camp that has a super cozy vibe, where this is a Derman Priory camp and the researchers here are investigating the Risen, and there are some events that start out of this area. You also have a waypoint at this camp so you can return to it unless it is contested, and many players may recognize this camp from the Triple Trouble World event, because if anyone has ever done Amber Worm, which is my favorite of the three, you come through this camp and fight the Amber Great Jungle Worm right next to the camp, which makes this even more of a memorable place for me. In the number 5 spot is Marifa Refugee Camp. This is a very large camp that is part of the greater Amnoon metropolitan area and can be found on the outskirts near the Amnoon farms. Whereas the name suggests, this is a camp for all the refugees that have been pouring into Amnoon from other places in the Crystal Desert, the Desolation, and Alona, where the priests and priestesses of Cormyr are attempting to help the beleaguered refugees all throughout the camp, as Zaishin extremists attempt to convert the refugees, and other threats can be found around here, where this spot serves as one of the tasks in the map that you can complete. But the camp is just super cool. You have larger tents housing supplies that you can use during the task to help out the refugees. There are a bunch of smaller tents around here that are housing the refugees and are often housing secrets inside of them, which are fun to find. Then you got some more worn down tents further away from the camp that still provide some shelter for these refugees. Then you got a bunch of other various decorations like wagons, crates, lanterns, sacks, fish, and so on and so forth. This is just another beautifully decorated area in Guild Wars 2 and is a part of an important story in the game. In the number 4 spot is Rocklair. This is another Derman Pride camp, but this time in Lorner's Pass, where this is kind of in the dead center of the map and is placed directly on top of the massive road that heads north-south through the Shiver Peaks, which is one of my favorite roads in Guild Wars 2. It's pretty close to Cascade Bridge, one of my favorite bridges in the game, and it's very close to the transition from the frigid Shiver Peaks into the rolling hills of Kryda and the Steamspur Mountains, which is just a gorgeous area. When it comes to the camp itself, it is a decently sized camp with a variety of tents. Some more basic tents, but also a bunch of the special Derman Prairie tents with fun decorations. You have a small fence set up around the perimeter of the camp, a large fire in the center, and a variety of other decorations. Some players may remember coming to this area at the start of the Ender Dragons expansion, which is kind of random and this camp doesn't really play a part in that story, but Gorik was just hanging out here before meeting up with Anka. But this camp has always just felt super special to me because it is in a great location and it feels super important with all the different Priory members and the road that it is located on. In the number 3 spot is Rosko's campsite. This is actually a campsite that I started appreciating more recently while it has been in the game since 2012. It is located in the Halcorn Meadows in the Fields of Ruin, right on the border with the Blizzard Steppes, where the entire area around here is beautiful, and the big story of this area are the nearby harpies who will come and attack and kidnap some of the villagers found in the camp. Where the camp is made up of mostly humans alongside some different farm animals, with there being a lot of human stories going on in this area of the world, with the whole stronghold of Ebonhawke being nearby and all the treaty negotiations. There are a few different named NPCs you can chat with, which is fun, but I just love how the camp is set up and all the different decorations. It feels kind of like an area that the humans are using while they prepare to build a more permanent settlement in this area, but also seems like an important strategic location that allows the humans to have a relatively well fortified area that can support other camps, towns, and various fortifications near it. But I also love how it is right at the entrance to Blizzard Steppes, and players coming in from that area immediately have this camp to stay at, assuming the harpies aren't currently attacking. In the number 2 spot are all the various campsites across the Lowland Shores, and there are a decent number of these. Lowland Shores is a phenomenal map that I quickly grew to love following the release of Janthier Wilds, where the vibes of this map are immaculate, as it is a bunch of sprawling canyons with a ton of rivers and waterfalls and a few cozy Coden settlements spread amongst the canyons. And every now and then you can find a cozy camp with some Coden hanging out around the fire. When it comes to these campsites themselves, they're actually kind of barren when it comes to decorations. The primary part of each campsite are the large fires in the center, and there is a phenomenal detail added where you can sit around the campfire, where you get the fun chair and a s'more stick, which is something we have seen in the past, but it gets better. As you sit around the campfire, you can listen to campfire stories. For example, the Ashmaker at the campsite near Autumn's Vale will tell the story of the Bog Queen, which, if you know anything about the Bog Queen, can be considered a pretty spooky campfire story, which everything combined just makes these camps something that I love. A beautiful locale, a cozy fire, and some fantastic storytelling. But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite camp in all of Guild Wars 2, and it just has to go to Petraj's Rest. This combines a lot of my favorite aspects of a camp together, with the addition of this being a pretty important camp that I remember visiting during the Icebreed Saga. In the central area of the southern Drizzlewood coast is Breakroot Basin, and this area is absolutely incredible. I love how this area looks with all the mountains surrounding it, the dense woodlands of this region, all the waterfalls pouring into the basin, and just every other detail you can find around here, like the minotaurs lining the cliffs. But there are 2 camps secluded partway up the cliffs, and they are Tengu camps, where we have 2 fantastic tents here, one of which is very low to the ground and partially destroyed, while the other is standing tall, albeit a little slanted. And I do love the designs of these tents, and I just absolutely love their location. This is like a perfect spot to set up camp. You're in a secluded area with an absolutely gorgeous view, and you are far away from the fighting going on in the map. But I would love to wake up in the morning, roll out of the tent, and just look at the basin and the rest of the forest beyond. But an additional fun fact is that we have the Quetzal Tengu Goro Clever Claws here, who is a part of a couple of achievements where you can eventually make a bunch of Tengu weapons to unlock for your characters, where you eventually do unlock this character in the Eye of the North, but the character is also present here in the Drizzlewood Coast. But another additional fun fact is that this camp, or area specifically, is called Petraj's Rest, where Petraj the Evasive was a relatively powerful Tengu boss that you could find in this area of the world in the original Guild Wars, and we see the town of Petraj Overlook just southeast of here, as well as Petraj's Rest, named in honor of that Tengu, which everything combined just makes this my favorite camp in all of Guild Wars 2. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. There are a lot of camps in Guild Wars 2, and I always appreciate the details they add to the world. A big theme with camps in this game are how massive they are, and I would love to see smaller ones like Petraj's Rest and Bogside Camp in the future. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching the related top 10 tents in Guild Wars 2, or consider watching my recent top 10 spiders in Guild Wars 2. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.